Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Distinguished participants, esteemed speakers, colleagues from COMSET Centers of Excellence, member states, partner organizations, and academic and research institutions from the global south. Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, and good morning. It is both an honor and privilege to welcome you all to this joint training workshop on enhancing university business and R&D-SME collaboration for innovation and growth. On behalf of the COMSET Secretariat and the organizing team at the COMSET Center for Climate and Sustainability, I extend my deepest appreciation to all the participants who have joined us for your all overwhelming response and enthusiastic engagement in today's event. So this workshop is basically a direct response to the growing interest of the COMSET Centers of Excellence and COMSET member countries for the training workshop. The purpose of this training workshop is to equip researchers, innovation managers, R&D professionals, and academic scientists or researchers from academic and research institutions with practical tools and entrepreneurial acumen to better engage with SMEs and accelerate innovation and growth. At this moment, we commence the day proceeding. It is my distinct honor to invite Executive Director of COMSET, Ambassador Dr. Mohammad Nafiz Zakia, for the opening remarks. Ambassador Dr. Zakia has been instrumental in guiding COMSET's strategic vision in science-led development, climate sustainability, and regional cooperation. His leadership continues to inspire meaningful initiatives that bridge the research with policy and practice. The floor is yours, sir.
Rahman Rahim. I hope I am audible to everyone. Excellencies, honorable experts, resource persons, distinguished participants, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum and my best wishes to all the learned participants. This virtual workshop is dedicated to sharing knowledge and experience of practical strategies for strengthening collaboration of universities and research institutions on one hand, with the industry and business sector, particularly SMEs on the other. Before I share my thoughts about the significance and reasons behind this activity, I would like to express on behalf of COMSETs and partner organizers our profound gratitude to the eminent resource persons. They represent the international network for small and medium enterprises, INSME, Pardis Technology Park, Iran, UNIDO, the South Center, and CESRIC OIC for graciously dedicating their time for sharing their expertise at this workshop. Thank you very much. I congratulate COMSET's team, led by Dr. Mavish, on such an overwhelming participation, which is a manifestation of the team's professional approach and dedication. They have been able to evince interest far and wide and got the distinguished international entities on board. I'm also equally gratified by the meaningful engagement of COMSET's focal points in member states and centers of excellence. Their institutional and intellectual support continue to enrich COMSET's vision. Ladies and gentlemen, this workshop and such activities are aligned with the vision of the Nobel laureate and renowned Pakistani physicist and scientist, Professor Abdul Salam. He identified in early 90s that the technology and knowledge gap created the haves and have-nots, hence the developed and developing economies. Bridging the gap was the basic premise on which Professor Salam founded COMSET. Therefore, all our activities are aligned and directed to that end. We are indebted and pay tribute to the iconic Nobel laureate, Professor Salam, for his initiative and his guidance and vision. I was looking at the statistics of developed economies vis-a-vis the developing ones as a reference in the context of this theme of the workshop today. Ladies and gentlemen, developed countries dominate in high-tech and knowledge-based industries such as pharmaceuticals, aerospace, automotive, semiconductors, software, and renewable energy. In contrast, the developing countries primarily engage in labor-intensive and resource-based industries such as textile, agriculture, extractive sectors, oil, gas, minerals, and low-cost manufacturing. A comparative analysis that we have done of time lapse between students' graduation from the university and his or her employment in the developed and developing countries both is a reflection of the strength of alignment between the universities and the industry. Now, stronger the alignment, better will be the market readiness and absorption of the university graduates in different fields. For an effective alignment, university, industry, as well as the government have their respective responsibilities to fulfill. It is not automatic phenomena. There has to be a concerted effort. It requires well thought out, policy-driven, long-term planning and strategy. Triple helix model, government, university, and industry is widely institutionalized in developed countries. Experimental program to stimulate comparative research, in short we call it EPSCOR, is a reference case in point. Ladies and gentlemen, government role is catalytic by offering initial funding, tax incentives, infrastructure, and regulatory frameworks that promote collaboration for industrial R&D, which is quite common and well established in the developed world compared to the developing countries. Universities in developed countries seek partnerships with industry for academic research to commercialize their specialized knowledge via consultancy, contract research, licensing, science parks, and new company formation. In the US and Canada, for example, academia, particularly the faculty members, are mostly engaged with industry-sponsored researchers. In OECD countries, again, the large chunk of OECD countries belong to the developed world. The university, industry, R&D collaboration is around 50%, whereas compared to the global south, where it is just 15%. Half of the industry inventions and innovations are generated within 30 kilometers of research university in most of the developed world. Now, referring again to the developed world, the European multinational firms are partnered with the universities on projects related to recruitment opportunities for the firms and patents as well. Science and technology parks in Belgium, the US, and Japan, for instance, serve as hubs for collaboration. Distinguished participants, in the developed world, industry sees universities' primary role as educators and talent providers, not as commercial R&D outfits. In some part of the developing countries, reportedly, the experience is altogether different. Well, how significant and a matter of priority is this pursuit? Fewer than 20% of the SDG targets are currently on course to be met, which is very, I would say, should be a matter of concern. At this point in time, the economies are disrupted by the intertwined challenges of climate change, digital transformation, and deepening socioeconomic inequality. These are additional challenges that we are facing. In the backdrop of these scenarios, education sector has a pivotal role to play. Universities must take center stage, not only as fundamental of fountainhead of knowledge, but also as a hub of innovative solutions. Likewise, SMEs, which employ over half of the global workforce, must also gear up to align, adapt, and scale up these innovations, thereby translating knowledge into impactful, inclusive progress. To this end, ComSets is actively cultivating dynamic innovation ecosystems across Asia, Africa, Middle East, and Latin America, ambitiously leveraging the expertise of its 25 centers of excellence across the globe. ComSets initiatives pertain to capacity building interventions, green entrepreneurship, SME advancement, intellectual property management, transformative leadership, and responsible integration of artificial intelligence. ComSets programs have empowered scores of professionals to skillfully tackle the multifaceted challenges that the world, especially the global south, is facing. These initiatives exemplify the tangible dividends of strategic cross-sectoral collaborations in shaping resilient, innovative, driven economies. In many developing economies, SMEs are typically constrained by limited access to capital, advanced technologies, and robust institutional networks. Bridging these asymmetries requires not only strategic investment and enabling legislation, but also harmonized policy frameworks that incentivize innovations. It is important that the research and development priorities be aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Industry relevance into academic curricula be prudently embedded, and SMEs are enabled to access cutting-edge infrastructure and knowledge networks. Distinguished colleagues, today's deliberations transcend academic discourse. They represent strategic blueprints for reimagining our innovative ecosystems. Let us envision a future where a student's thesis evolves into a market-ready solution, where scholarly research informs robust public policy, and where SMEs stand at the forefront of sustainable and inclusive development. I wish you all a productive continuation of the workshop and outcomes that catalyze tangible action and enduring partnerships. I thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful address and for framing today's workshop within ComSet's broader commitment to innovation, diplomacy, and inclusive development. Your emphasis on cross-sectoral collaboration as a cornerstone for sustainable transformation and indeed set the tone for our discussions ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Okay.
Sorry for the little blip, but it said it couldn't activate my microphone, so apologies for that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. So either I may introduce to you to the audience or you may introduce yourself. How do you like?
I'll introduce myself in my presentation very shortly, but you can come in and break the ice if you want.
Okay. So it's over to you. Just for the audience, very quickly, Ms. Livia is a project officer at the International Network for Small and Medium Enterprises, and she has bring rich experience in innovation governance. So we look forward to you hearing your reflections on the strengthening entrepreneurial competencies required within research and academic institutions. Over to you.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be here and to meet all of you. It's my first time in a Comstas event, but I hope it won't be the last. Some of you may be familiar with my colleague Giovanni Zazzerini. We are from the INSME, the International Network for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. We are a legally recognized non-for-profit association working under the auspices of the OECD. We have been created thanks to the OECD Entrepreneurship and SME division in 2004. Last year, we celebrated 20 years of work, and we are happy to be here today as we have collaborated with you in the past, and it's a pleasure to be here during this workshop. So the association, INSME, gathers innovation and NGOs from all over. I'm just going to move you over here. There you go. Gathers NGOs, business support, international organizations from all over the world. As of May 2025, INSME can count on the support of 64 members from 34 different countries. And the network is a facilitator for the creation of public and private partnerships, a gateway to innovation, good practices for the support of SMEs, and a catalyst for positive change and information opportunities in SMEs, innovation, entrepreneurship, and technology transfer. We work with a different lot of stakeholders, including academia and R&D, universities, SMEs, and it is our pleasure to have this meeting today with all of you. So the topic of today's talk will be entrepreneurial competencies and how to turn ideas from universities, schools, even high schools into key action for economic growth. So let's start off with some general definitions. When we think about entrepreneurship in general, it's always very linked to business. It's very linked to the monetary aspect. If we look on the dictionary, Usually the entrepreneur is the person that takes the risk of a monetary endeavor or an enterprise. However, in the general term, we believe that entrepreneurship is actually a competence for life. People can be entrepreneurial and never start a business in their life, but that will still have a positive impact on society as a whole and on academia as a whole. So entrepreneurship, as McCallum says, is a competence for life. In 2007, the European Commission defined entrepreneurship as an individual's ability to turn ideas into action. It includes creativity, innovation, manage projects, achieve objects, and risk-taking. This supports individuals not only in the sphere of business, but actually in every aspect of their everyday life, at home, in society, in the workplace. An employee can have a great entrepreneurial mindset. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be just entrepreneurs that start their own business. So why are they important? Governments, organizations, academia have known for a while that there has to be a more flexible workforce that is ready for the impact of what is happening right now with the great translations into AI, digitalization, the green transition. And the workforce and productivity sometimes are not on the level where they should be. So entrepreneurship is among the 8 key competencies required for individual development after the school years, together with communication, communicating in your mother tongue, mathematical abilities, and learning different languages when you grow up. There are 8 different competencies, and entrepreneurship is recognized by the European Commission as one of these key elements, regardless of if one wants to be a business starter, self-employed, or even a volunteer in a community center that is trying to find the best solution for their own local community. It can work for either way. So why do entrepreneurial competencies matter? There are 3 different macro areas where they matter. First of all, employability and productivity, I will add in this case. I come from a country, Italy, where we have a huge issue with productivity. We put in the hours. People go to work a lot of hours, but those hours do not translate with economic growth. They don't translate with production growth. And the employability, the workforce, is now not as ready as it should be for the big struggles of the new era with AI, technology transfer. There's a generation of workers that aren't ready to be moved into a different type of workforce that is more digital and more flexible. So employability is known as a set of achievements, skills, understandings, and personal attributes that make individuals more likely to gain employment and be successful in their chosen occupations. This is crucial wording. Chosen occupations, because entrepreneurial mindsets make you free to choose your occupation and not just stay still in a world where you think you have it all set up for you when you're born. You have freedom when you have the opportunity to see the entrepreneurial opportunities in front of you. Point number 2, of course, economic growth. Entrepreneurship, by exploiting commercial opportunities and accelerating technological change, is driving force for economic growth. New ideas, people having new ideas and the tools to implement those ideas and make them profitable, make economic growth in a country. And third, last but absolutely not least, social impact. Social entrepreneurship is the use as of startup companies or other entrepreneurial mindsets to develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, or environmental issues. It is important for everyday citizens to have the capacity for change in their own mindset. Know that if you want to do something, you can, and create social awareness and social impact. The fact that women are now becoming more entrepreneurial is absolutely positive for development all over the world. This is nothing new. As you probably know already, there are different programs that have already implemented entrepreneurial education inside their vocational training programs and in their university training programs. We have 3 examples here, with the UNDP in Africa introducing several African states with entrepreneurship education into secondary education and vocational education and trainings. China has a program known as the New Enterprise-Based Apprenticeship Program that is now for medium and large firms. We are hoping that they can shift to small business as well. That would be a great idea to go for small business owners too. And going back to what we were saying before of the inclusion of women in the discourse, in Oceania, in Australia specifically, the Women in STEM and Entrepreneurship Program aims to increase the awareness of participation of girls and women in STEM and entrepreneurship in education and careers to give them this output. Women are studying, they're educated, they get better. We don't see that translate to the big CEOs and entrepreneurs of the world yet. That is an issue. And creating a world where entrepreneurship is part of the development of person in its crucial years will definitely help with the social inclusion of this group as well. So where do we go from here? Today, we are presenting the entrecomp model. I know it might be a little bit small on the slide, but don't worry, we're going to break down petal by petal. So in 2016, building on what the European Commission already did in 2007, this model was created, Entrecomp, or Entrepreneurial Competencies Framework. It is in the shape of the flower because there are 3 main pillars that then have 5 petals per pillar, creating 15 main competencies for growth and for learning entrepreneurship in any phase of your life. Entrecomp is a European reference framework that was born in 2016 that defines and identifies the key knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are needed to be entrepreneurial in any aspect of life. A child could do it, a retired person could do it, a business owner could do it, a teacher could do it. It aims to promote a shared understanding on a whole social level of entrepreneurship as a competence for life, rather than just being for people who are self-employed or a mentorship program for people who are wanting to start their own business. There are 3 main areas: spotting and seizing ideas and opportunities, mobilizing resources, and turning ideas into action. This can be used for teachers to update their curriculums through, for example, programs such as the free online free edu program for teachers, or students or startup owners that want to self-assess for free their own ideas to see in which area they might be stronger or weaker. The goal is for different societal actors to be able to use it freely, and it presents itself well to be combined with university programs, vocational training programs, or even SMEs that are looking to have internships or include younger people into their human resources. So now we're going to break down each competency very quickly, one by one, and then go back into some real life applications of the model. The first key pillar is ideas and opportunities. This is something that when we grow up, we kind of tend to lose. That capacity to daydream, to imagine something that isn't there, that creativity, that playing what if, as if we were children. That is something that when we talk about business going forward, tends to get lost. It gets lost in translation. People think that the important thing about business is actually the resources, the money, the working. But there's a lot of it that actually comes from this first pillar, and it's important to see that it's the first one. So the first thing that is in the Entrecomp model, the first element, is spotting opportunities. This could simply be you walking down the street and realizing that there is an issue, something that can be improved, something that should be improved, and understanding that there is a potential for this idea that you have to be marketable or be sustainable for your community. Doesn't have to bring you economic growth, but just improve the life of a community. So you use your imagination during your everyday life to identify opportunities to create value. And then you want to seize that opportunity to create value by exploring the social, cultural, and economic landscape in front of you. You establish new connections and bring together scattered elements of the landscape to create opportunities around you that didn't exist before. The how you do that has to do with step number 2. Develop creative and purposeful ideas. The fact that this is plural is not a coincidence. Creative people usually have more than one path to arrive to the how, to the result. So you explore and experiment with innovative approaches in front of you, and you combine knowledge and resources that you already have to have different pathways to reach your goal. The third aspect is vision. Vision is probably the hardest one to imagine as an adult because you have to completely invent something that isn't there. You imagine the future, and we don't know what the future is going to look like, but you work towards your vision of the future. Imagine, for example, what happened with social media. It didn't exist, it wasn't there. But if we ask, what if there was, there is space to create something in a future scenario that's not there yet. That being said, we can't just live in creativity land and just live in our thoughts. Number 4 is quite important. It's valuing ideas. That means putting on the scale which ideas are worth exploring and which aren't. Make the most of your ideas and opportunities and understand which ones have the most potential to have a positive outcome. Because it is true that creativity is incredibly important, but it's also important to be grounded and make the most of the opportunity around you, understand your landscape and what you are working with. And fifth, the most important in my opinion, is you have to assess the consequences of your idea. It's important for the entrepreneurs of tomorrow to have ethical and sustainable thinking. You have to assess the consequences and the impact of your ideas culturally, economically, socially. So you have to reflect on how sustainable your idea is with your target community, with the market you're trying to tackle, and act responsibly so that you're not harmful to your community around you. This first pillar is something where even schools, not universities, even schools of younger kids can actually start implementing this into their programs. We, as INSME, did a project with the University of Rome, La Sapienza, in the engineering department last year, where we just tackled this aspect, which was the most creative aspect. And engineers and creativity go really hand in hand. Some people may think that they're very practical. It was really fun actually to go and be creative outside. What we asked the students to do with us was just to do the trajectory from their home, their commute, to their university, and spot the opportunities for them as engineers and green transition engineers at that to improve the world around them. They came up with new bus plans for solar panels on buses, trash cans for the recycling in their university, and so on and so forth. So schools, universities, R&D can already be impactful in this area and create a landscape where these competencies are recognized as such. It's not just daydreaming, and actually nurtured and made as the baseline for the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. This is not enough on its own, though. Then we go into resources. Of course, this is not enough without physical resources, human resources, digital resources. And the first resource that an entrepreneur has is himself or herself. So the first point we start for in the resource pillar is self-awareness and self-efficacy. Believe in yourself and keep developing your ideas with groundness, staying with your own 2 feet, with motivation and perseverance. So stay focused, don't give up despite uncertainty, setbacks, and temporary failures. And believe when other people don't. It's sort of a hard thing to believe when you're in the midst of things. And here, for example, what we have seen is that it's impactful when universities have on-campus accelerators or incubators, so that the young entrepreneurs, or even an idea incubator, it doesn't have to be a startup incubator, it can be a project, an event, but so that students can start working on their ideas, make mistakes, build their self-confidence as entrepreneurs in a place where they feel safe, where the resources that they're utilizing aren't as risky as the real world, so they can get accustomed to the game of creating and believing and making mistakes and experimenting in the safety of a space that they understand to be theirs. Then the third aspect, or number 8, as you see on the slide, is mobilizing actual resources. Here we're talking finances, human resources, digital tools, websites, machinery if necessary, raw materials, textiles if you're starting a clothing business. You have to gather and manage the resources you need and learn how to manage them effectively. The fourth aspect, in my opinion, is one of the most important of all in life, which is financial and economic literacy. This is the aspect that has a lot of impact socially. It has an impact on the ability of everyone to choose their best path in life and be free to choose that. So it is crucial to develop financial and economic know-how, possibly from the youngest age possible. So here as well, universities and schools, high schools, even middle schools in some cases, introducing programs that explain financial literacy and competencies would be incredibly important. Then number 10, mobilizing others. In other words, communication skills. You have to inspire, enthuse, get others on board, which means believing in your idea so much that other people believe in it for you as well, which then translates into explaining your idea to relevant stakeholders. So as well here, it would be interesting to see how accelerators and incubators and universities then translate to the outside world. Maybe there's a fair that the university has. For example, here in Rome, there's the Lewis University that has a relationship with existing accelerators and business incubators. Creating those links, the networking and so forth, all of that would be incredibly important. So demonstrate your effective communication skills, persuasion, negotiation, leadership, go to events, talk about your idea. And then the part where I believe universities and R&D institutions have the most space, which is moving this into action. So once we've had our ideas, we've learned how to manage the resources in front of us, it is now important to create actual product or an actual event or an actual startup. So it has to become action. Sometimes there's a lot of theory going on, as we were saying before, that then doesn't go to market. The first aspect is, of course, doing it. Number 11, taking the initiative, go for it. Easier said than done, we all know, but it is the first step as to going into action. Initiate processes that create value. Take up challenges around you. Act and work independently to achieve your goals. Carry out the planned out tasks. And this goes into the second part, planning and managing. You have to plan around, prioritize, organize, and follow up. And sometimes it's really easy to lose sight of what's important. So it's also important that sometimes these accelerators have mentors on campus, success stories that come to speak and coach the actual entrepreneurs. We have a mentorship program here at SME where we have young entrepreneurs go abroad and have 3 days with a startup that has been successful, so they can just learn by being in that space with the mentor for a while. That works a lot. Learning by doing is absolutely what works the most. You then have to learn how to cope with uncertainty and risk, make decisions with dealing with uncertainty, ambiguity, potential failure, which is never hard. Mental health is also very important with this, being solid in your ideas and making sure that you feel still convinced. Then working with others, being able to rely on your team, build a team of people you know. University students make great teams usually with working together. Who has what strength in your team. And then the most important, learn by doing. Universities, SMEs, R&D, vocational trainings can absolutely collaborate in making sure that the entrepreneurs of tomorrow aren't just on the books, but are on the field. So there are lots of projects, international projects, that are very successful in making sure that the entrepreneurs go live the life of a SME owner, of an entrepreneur, use any initiative for value creation on the field. Internships work a lot, for example, even to battle unemployment, and make sure that people actually work with their hands and learn with their body rather than also their mind, but both of them going together. So learn by doing is something that is very important. Vocational schools, colleges, and universities should prepare students by integrating entrepreneurship courses or aspects of it. It doesn't have to be the whole entrepreneurship package, but into their curricula to raise their entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And accelerators on campus or incubators have shown to give encouraging results as well, inspiring students to test out their ideas in a space that they're familiar with, and then feel more ready to become independent in the future with their ideas. So this all seems like a lot of different steps, but actually what Entrecomp is just organizing and recognizing things that already work in practice. These are all processes that have been proven to be success related. They're just put all together. The important thing is not to work on all 15 steps as a whole, but rather recognize that they are skills. They're skills that are learned. They're skills that can be taught. They are skills that can be lost. There are skills that, if aren't used, can be lost in translation. But here, if you recognize these as skills, teachable, they are then also seen as prioritizable and things that actually can be nurtured to create a generation that is more future ready, creative, and entrepreneurial. So what could be some real life applications now that we've seen a lot of the theory? These are all things that happen in our everyday life where Entrecomp is already there, and we can just have to nurture these examples. Example number one, a high school student takes the subway every day. He thinks to generate energy, electricity through the movement of the turnstiles when he enters the metro. This already happened in Paris, for example. Or the band Coldplay that uses the stepping of the people at their concerts to generate electricity for the lights at the concert. This is spotting an opportunity for something new. This could be translated into using that energy and that motion for thanks to the commuters of every day in a subway. People are spotting an opportunity, the first element we talked about. Example number two, university professors using the entrepreneurship entrecomp model to design a program where students are focusing on scientific entrepreneurial skills, such as identifying opportunities, managing resources, and implementing ideas. Or, for example, even something simpler, something that we're also maybe doing today. A small business owner, a project officer, people that work in this go to an event and then decide to collaborate. And then they link up on social media and decide that they're working together on something that can be very impactful. This is networking. It's nothing new. Entrecom just put it as a skill, something that if you don't know how to do could hinder you from being successful in entrepreneurship. Networking, we've seen that before. So all of these are examples of how entrecomp can be used in different aspects as well. Not the whole thing of all 15. You can just focus on what you're weaker or stronger in, or self-assess on what you need to work on in order to be a more successful entrepreneur in your life. Finally, a case study of what we've worked on. This is something, it's not an example of hypotheticals, it's what we actually know that has worked. This is a case study of a project we're involved in. It's called Erasmus for Young Entrepreneurs. Basically, EU young entrepreneurs that had only an idea. Maybe they didn't even have anything done yet. Aspiring entrepreneurs went abroad to learn from experienced SME owners in other countries, and they were never informed about the Entrecom. Nobody told them that they were going to be assessed on it or that those were the skills that they were specifically nurturing, but they were then asked about it when they were finished. So when they were done, they were asked, have you developed better communication skills? Yes. Have you met people that you can start a business deal with in the future? Yes, no, maybe. So without even telling them the fact that Entrecomp was part of this project, they did develop these competencies in order to become better entrepreneurs in the future. And they then, learning by doing, improved what they knew about the world of startups and SMEs to eventually start their own business. So this was an experience that linked universities, because these entrepreneurs were from incubators in EU universities, and SME owners that worked together to strengthen this relationship between young entrepreneurs, business, academia, working together, which is what we're all looking to do here and today. So if universities, vocational training schools can harness this model, they can help generate the generation of the future that are creative, free, entrepreneurial individuals, which is something that we would love to see. And here I thank you for your time. This is my contacts. I will also put them in the chat. If you wish to connect with us, we'd be happy to hear from you. It's also my pleasure to invite you all to our annual summit. It is free of charge. It will be in Spain, Alicante. If you look for INSME's website, you will find information on there. It has been a pleasure to speak with you. And if you wish to connect and talk more about this, these are my contact details, and I would be happy to meet all of you online or maybe in person one day. Thank you very much for your time, and I will leave time for the next speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Levia, and I'm hoping that you will stay with us till the discussion session at the right after the presentations of all the speakers. Thank you once again for a compelling, insightful presentation. Your comprehensive perspective on fostering entrepreneurial competencies within research institutions, provided the case studies and the real-life applications, has provided actionable guidance for our participants. And we deeply appreciate INSME's continued contribution to advancing inclusive innovation and strengthening R&D and SMEs linkages. So next we have Mr. Riza Aslani, Head International Affairs, Pardis Technology Park. With extensive experience in international innovation, diplomacy, and ecosystem building, Mr. Raza Aslani will share approaches adopted in Iran and Pardes Technology Park for empowering researchers to engage industry and drive commercial outcomes. Over to you, Mr. Raza, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for your invitation. First of all, I would like to express my warmest thanks to ComSat for organizing such esteemed event, especially to His Excellency Professor Zakaria. Then I would like to express my warmest thanks to the team of ComSat. And then thanks Ms. Livia for having a nice speech about the terminologies and the competencies of entrepreneurship. Today, I'm just going to give some information. As you know, I'm from Pardes Technology Park, known as the Presidential Tech Park in Iran. So we are all a man of government. We are not active in universities, but you know, we are organizing an ecosystem in Iran to help entrepreneurship and innovative activities. I'm just going to tell the audience how an ecosystem has been implemented in Iran through different projects that we have. So I'm just gonna share my presentation. Just wait a second. So I guess you can see my presentation, am I right?
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So I'm just going to introduce the audience how the ecosystem of entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology is been running in Iran. First of all, I'm going to show you a short story about what has happened in Iran and Iran's transcendence path in innovation and technology. You know, in Iran, we have experienced three different waves. The first wave, which was a leap in science and technology. Second wave, which was the formation of knowledge-based companies. And the third wave, which we are right now in it, is the economy of the startup development and, of course, entrepreneurship. So in the first wave, what we have faced was we tried our best to improve the human resource and education. And we tried ourselves to obtain a desired ranking in global science and science productions. As an example, we tried our best to reach some top ranks, as an example, in nanotechnology, biotechnology, in these efforts, but it was all on papers, you know. It was just ranking and producing the papers. So after that, what has happened was that we received, we faced different rankings. As you can see here, you know, we were in a very low ranking, but we step by step reached to a top ranking. In the second wave, what we were doing was to develop some tech parks, some incubators, some other technology centers. As an example, our number of incubators reached to more than 200. That was the result of these papers. We thought that what can we do to these papers that was you know, produced? So we developed incubators, technology parks, to introduce these kind of papers and transfer them to the industry and running entrepreneurship out of these papers. But after that, we found out that these centers didn't suffice. You know, these were the number of tech parks that we reached to in some years, you know, how increased was happened in this wave. But after that, we faced, I just want to skip some slides because I was preparing for myself for a longer time. In the third wave, I'm not successful. Oh, all right. So in the third wave, we created an independent ecosystem. What do we mean by ecosystem? It means an ecosystem that all the key role players of the technology and innovation and entrepreneurship will work together. What was the result of this kind of thing? It was to, you know, step by step, we made bridges between all the key role players by different projects, both national or international one. I'm going to just focus on this wave more. Okay. So, as a result of these three waves, these four sections was as the innovation ecosystem was erosion. The networking, investment, training, and supporters. The ecosystem makes connection between these four innovation ecosystems. In networking, those co-working spaces, those events, mutual collaborations, or in investment sections, you know, venture capitals, pre-seed investings and crowdfundings, or in supporters, incubators, accelerators, government institutions, or tech parks as an example. And in training, there are different mentorship programs and you know, seminars or workshops and universities. You know, they are in this innovation ecosystem actives. I want to just divide these four sections in two parts: the governmental one and non-governmental one. In government, you know, we have some activists such as Vice Presidency for Science and Technology. Beside it, we have Ministry of Science and Science Research and Technology. These are two different sections that you know, run this type of ecosystem. Beside them, we have science and technology parks, technology incubators, and a very huge fund, which is called Iran National Innovation Fund. These are the government activists in this ecosystem. The non-governmental one is those that refers to startups, knowledge-based companies, innovation accelerators, organizers of the events, mentors, and co-working spaces. So these are the non-governmental organizations that are active in this ecosystem. And the outcome of such, you know, interrelations have been, the result was the innovation accelerators in all around Iran. And you can see that in different parts of Iran right now, different accelerators are active to support entrepreneurship and, of course, those idea owners that want to have this type of entrepreneurship thinkings. Beside these things, one project that was the result of course, Paris Technology Park's activities was establishing and introducing a new activist in the entrepreneurship field. That was the innovation factories. The first innovation factory was established by Paris Technology Park, which is called Azadi Innovation Factory. But right now, we have 16 innovation factories, active ones right now in Iran, that you know, hundreds of startups and idea owners are working there. This is a new key role player in the entrepreneurship ecosystem in Iran. During these years that I was talking about, these three waves, we have established different laws in the government to support each section. Starting from 2002, exactly a year after the establishment of Paris Technology Park, because the pioneer of technology and entrepreneurship program in Iran is Paris Technology Park. We were established in 2001. So step by step, by establishment of the new high-tech companies in this area, step by step, different national laws was approved and assigned by the government, and of course, by the attempt of Paris Technology Park. The first one was established, the first law in 2002 by some laws regarding foreign investment. Then after that, the law for supporting knowledge-based firms was set in the government and approved in our parliament. Then another different laws, till we faced right now the knowledge-based production LEAP law, which is a very advanced law that helps the entrepreneurship ecosystem, because after establishing the law for supporting knowledge-based firms that includes 110 types of incentives for the member companies, in this LEAP law, a new idea have been arisen that all the incomes out of this ecosystem again, returns to the ecosystem itself. As an example, the knowledge-based firms were tax exempted for 15 years, for example. But in the new law, all they use it to pay some VATs and other things. But even all those added values returns to the ecosystem itself. So these laws are an example of supporting entrepreneurship program in the governments. Let me just draw your attention to the advantages that through these laws have been given to the SMEs, knowledge-based companies. Those are the standards and licenses, product development, military and facilities for the employees, tax exemptions, the services of the Innovation and Prosperity Fund, and standards and licenses. These are the most important topics, but exactly 110 type of incentives have been given to this ecosystem. So what was the result of these three waves? I just want to add what has happened in the entrepreneurship section of our country. On this slide, you can see the result was the establishment of 59 technology parks, 350 incubators, innovation centers, and near 300 incubators, and more than 10,000 knowledge-based companies, and other statistics that you can see here was the result of these three waves and the supports that we, as the government, have given to the ecosystem of entrepreneurship. One of the best results, the success stories of this, the outcome of this ecosystem was Paris Technology Park itself, that newly this year has been named and approved by the Board of Ministers as Iran International Innovation District, previously known as the Paris Technology Park. A park that right now hosts more than 500 high-tech companies and having right now 470 hectares active area, and is going to expand it to 1,000 hectares. What has been done in Paris Technology Park that have become a pattern for all the ecosystem and activists in the ecosystem is a commercialization chain that has been introduced by Paris Technology Park to entrepreneurs. This commercialization chain is completely active in Paris, talking about absorbing talents from schools or universities to teach them how to act in the ecosystem, how to change their ideas to a startup and be introduced into the industry. There are dozens of events in Paris Technology Park. Then teaming up these people to become, to cooperate with their similar activists in incubators that we have here in Paris, or accelerators that in all around Iran have, and we are the center for certifying them. Then changing them to SMEs and supporting them, having different incentives for them, and introducing them to the investors or big companies, and to develop them and introduce them to the industry. You know, there is a commercialization chain that have been provided by Paradis, and right now all the activists they have this pattern as well. Then one of the examples that, you know, Paradis itself is the result of these waves, but one of the most successful results of establishing Paris Technology Park was Iran Innovation Technomart Network. That is the biggest technology network in Iran. It acts like a real estate between the high-tech products owners and to the investors or the big companies in all around Iran. You know, right now, more than 17,000 high-tech products have been registered in this Technomart. And in all provinces of Iran, we have established local tech marts, and the responsibility is to introduce these two sections together, the investors and big companies and the high-tech products owners. So that was a very good example and success story that acts in our entrepreneurship ecosystem right now. Then, since you know, in Iran we have two activists in supporting startups and idea owners, incubators and accelerators. Accelerators are private sections, incubators are the governmental sections. To certify and manage all the accelerators in all around Iran, there is a center which is in Paris Technology Park that certifies all the accelerators in all around Iran. These accelerators supervise different events, support the startups, they provide different facilities for the startups. And the center is called Innovation Acceleration Center, that we certify all the accelerators of all around Iran. That's why Paradis is considered to have the biggest network of entrepreneurship and startup in Iran. Next, to define different cooperations between the ecosystem and university, there is a project have been arisen by Paris Technology Park called SADAF project, which is a bridge between us and all universities, especially the best universities in Iran, to having joint projects, introducing them to the technology park. I mean, introducing the students, university students, into our tech park, for sharing facilities or for do some entrepreneurship programs, and of course to hold different boot camps for university students who want to become active in the ecosystem of entrepreneurship and startup. We have different projects here. Then, as a result, since these three waves have been mature enough, we thought that one event is needed to, gather all these activists and key role players in the ecosystem together. So we have organized Innotex exhibition, which is a mega event, not only exhibition, that all the role players of innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship ecosystem in Iran, they gather together here in Paris Technology Park. Our streets change to exhibition and different stages, so that all the key role players can define cooperations together. This is a very huge one, more than 100,000 visitors visit this exhibition annually. This was all about what I wanted to tell you, and I have some suggestions for all the participants here regarding the Innotex. As I told you, we are ready to host any delegations coming from each country because Innotex is an international exhibitions. Last month we held the previous round of Innotex. From different countries they participate. We used to have many delegations from Pakistan as well in the previous rounds of. So we are completely ready to cooperate in this field. Please do not hesitate to contact me. This is a very good example of how to gather all the role players and entrepreneurship in a country together. Then at the end of October, we are going to hold the Technology Olympics. If any activists in the field of ICT is present here, can contact me to be introduced to this Olympic. This is a very huge Olympic in the field of ICT that we hold. All the SMEs, all the idea owners in ICT section can participate here. All right, I tried my best to be fast enough. Thank you for your attention. I will share my contacts in the chat box for you. And then I'm ready for any questions at the end of the event. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reza, for that compelling presentation. And I must say, Iran's trajectory in cultivating a robust knowledge-based economy through initiatives like the Paris Technology Park stands as a success story for all the institutions from the Global South. We are inspired by Iran's progress, retaining talent, scaling homegrown startups, and integrating its national innovation system with global technology flows. An achievement that speaks volume of Iran's resilience and strategic foresight. Now I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Eri George, business development expert at UNIDO, who will deliver a talk on SMEs as a strategic partner in an innovation system. Mr. Eri George has been a leading voice in sustainable innovation and green economic transition. Over to you, Mr. Eri.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Good morning from Latin America. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Very happy to be here. Let me share my screen so we can start. Okay, I think we're all set now. Yes. Okay, so first of all, I would like to start to give a thank to ComSats for the kind invitation to contribute to this important dialogue. As I was presented before, my name is Eri George. I work with UNIDO as a business development expert. Basically leading projects that bring together the private sector, academia, and development partners to strengthen innovation ecosystems, particularly to small and medium-sized enterprise. That's one of the main things that we do at UNIDO. And basically, what I want to do is focus today's session on a critical topic, and it is how we can foster more effective and sustainable collaboration between SMEs and universities. As we all know, in all developing countries, SMEs are the backbone of our economies. It goes from driving job creation, local innovation, and economic resilience. On the other hand, we have the universities that are considered, or we want to consider them as hubs of research, talent, and advanced knowledge. But one of the main issues that we always find is that despite the potential, the two words, SMEs and academia, often operate in silos. So one of the things that we work in here in Paraguay was the program, a program called the Circular Economic Opportunity Program, which was a key pillar of the MIPYME Compite project that it was aimed at promoting circular economy models and innovation among Paraguayan SMEs. And basically, we started with a 13 project pilot that we focus on resource efficiency, product redesign, valorization of waste, and new business models. And the academic institutions played a central role in several projects offering technical diagnosis, laboratory testing, life cycle assessment, innovation mentorship, and also support the development of sustainable production strategies. So we have a very good idea of how to bridge those two words. And my aim today is to help bridge that gap, okay? Show you how we have some proven strategies applied at UNIRO that basically can help successfully create an structure of collaboration between SMEs and academic institutions. So saying that, let's begin with the foundation, basically identifying common grounds. SMEs and universities may seem to have different agendas if you look at from an outsider perspective, because one is focused on immediate survival. I'm talking about the SMEs, and basically they want market share. The others, on the other hand, we have the university needs that focus on research, education, and long-term discovery. But when we look closely, they often share overlapping interests. For SMEs, there is a constant need to improve products, to solve operational problems, and to access skilled talent. On the other hand, for universities, there is an increasing pressure to demonstrate a real-world impact, to link research to societal needs, and to enhance graduate employability. And this actually what it does, it creates clear opportunities to collaborate, especially on applied research, on product development and process improvement, and also curriculum alignment. So the offer that universities have can be based on the SMEs or the company's needs. Okay. So basically, a useful approach that we have found out based on the different projects that we have been participating and leading is to co-design projects. Basically, if we have a problem that is shared, let's co-design the project. For instance, it could be allowing SMEs to propose real business challenges as students research topics or do their thesis work. This basically creates a relevance for students. It gives them a practical insight for businesses and impactful results for universities. I often say that SMEs don't need academic publications, they need actionable solutions. So that's one of the main focus that we do, because that's what companies right now need. And those solutions can start in the classroom or the lab if they are designed collaboratively. So this is very important to keep in mind. Now, I want to explore models that work, that we have used that work, structures that have facilitated successful collaboration around the world. And also, in my own experience, what we've done here in Latin America. One of them are the Living Labs model that That's where students research and businesses co-create, test, and iterate innovation in real environments. That gives them a hands-on experience, and it gives real solutions to the need. Another model is the Innovation Hub, which is often anchored in universities where startups and SMEs access lab facilities. They receive mentorship and early stage funding that helps them create or have their ideas being tested with the research capability that universities have. A more formalized partnership can happen through technology transfer offices. In this one, basically license research outputs to SMEs to establish a spin-off jointly. And it's not as used as it can be, because it can yield very good results, but it also requires that there is a lot of joint work from both sides, and sometimes that's hard to get. At UNIDO, we saw great results in the Mi Pyme Compite project. Basically, through this initiative, we engaged in over 300 SMEs in productivity and quality improvement activities. Academic institution played a vital role, and this is one of the models that we think can work if we keep adding those type of projects, because they, with the academic institutions, we were able to conduct a baseline diagnostic using structured tools. There was a co-development, developing capacity in building programs, and facilitating innovation mentorships through final year students, internship, and research partnerships. This multidimensional approach ensured that the collaboration wasn't one-off, because it was embedded in both institutions' priorities. So this is very important. Whether we chose to do living labs or innovation hubs or technology transfer, or we start designing projects that can help into closing the gaps based on the needs that each of the institutions have, we can always have a collaboration method that can help close the gap between SMEs and the academia. Now, it is very important, of course, collaboration is not without its challenges. There are real barriers, cultural, structural, and even linguistic, that hinder effective SME academia partnership. So here I have 4 of the most common ones. Let's break them down real quick. The first one is the cultural barriers. Universities often operate with long timelines and academic rigor, where SMEs, they move quickly and prioritize immediate returns. They need to see results fast, quick wins, as we call it. Another one is the structural barriers. SMEs may lack the human or financial resources to engage in formal research and development, and universities may lack the flexibility to tailor programs for SMEs. Also, the language barriers, and when I mention the language barriers, I'm not talking a different language in terms of one speaks Spanish, the other speak English. I'm talking about the academic terms that researchers usually use. Terms like hypothesis, frameworks, publication. SMEs speak more of cash flow, customers' needs, and competitive advantage. So it is important to keep in mind that when we're trying to bridge these gaps, we have to take into consideration those language barriers and try to level the the conversation in terms of things that make sense for both sides. Now, let's talk about how we can overcome these barriers. Okay, first, one of the first things that we have to focus on is assign boundary spanners. Basically, identify that common point between officers or innovation brokers who understand both words and can translate across them. Also, we need to, as a second point, we need to ensure collaboration and make sure that that collaboration is co-governed. Okay, we need to define expectations, responsibilities, and success metrics early on, so we all can be on the same page. And third, we need to start small. Pilot initiatives will allow trust actually to build before scaling. And that's one of the things that work very well with the program Mi Pyme Compite, because we use simple project charters. We co-sign by that were co-signed by SMEs and university teams, and it helped align expectation from day one and gave both sides a framework to work within. Now, I want to change the narrative a little bit. Too often, SMEs are treated as beneficiaries, and that's another thing that we find that can help close this gap. If we are running an innovation project and we want to involve academia within the innovation project, then a lot of people make the mistake of treating them as beneficiaries, but in reality, they are strategic actors, not just recipient of innovation, but contributors and co-creators. And that's how we have to look at them. SMEs are agile, they're deeply connected with their market. They're willing to test new solutions, and this makes them ideal partners in experimentation and rapid innovation cycles. Like for innovation ecosystem to function, we need what we call the triple helix model, which is basically connecting universities, industry, and government. But in that model, SMEs must have a seat at the design table, not just at the implementation stage, not just receiving the results. And a few ideas that we have here that we consider very important is a challenge-based innovation, where universities and SMEs co-develop solutions for defined sector challenges. Also, there are the open innovation calls, which are usually funded by public or private sources to stimulate collaboration. One element that have very good results here in Paraguay and also in Uruguay is the hackathons or the innovation sprints that are usually hosted jointly to develop prototypes and business solutions. And that helps a lot in the creation of new solutions, innovation that can help move forward. Empowering SMEs as innovation partners will unlock their full potential. And this is not just a suggestion, it's something that we know have worked and we've seen it work in different projects. And this often leads to quicker, more grounded impact than if we work on a top-down approach and use or have the SMEs as beneficiaries and not look as a strategic partner. Okay, so basically here the collaboration approaches, we have to keep in mind that we're going to have a challenge-based innovation, and basically one of the things that we need to do is help with the co-development of solutions for sector challenges. do open innovation calls, which are funded simulation of partnerships. Usually these open innovation calls will help the SMEs to prepare really good and well-structured projects. And then with the help of academia, they can develop these projects. And again, as I mentioned before, we had the hackathons and also student projects would help a lot with the whole development process. Now, I want to close and hopefully not overrun my time with some practical recommendations. Basically, I'll call them actionable recommendation because they need to be done, that institution and SMEs can begin applying right away. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to prepare too much to do this. And basically, we need to start with a shared value. Is basically identify mutual needs that a collaboration can address. Okay, whether there is a curriculum or there's a gap in the curriculum or a product innovation. The second one is to design a clear governance where we can define roles, deliverables, timelines right up front, not wait until we have something moving. For this, we can use simple tools like memory of understanding, an MOU, project canvases, or progress trackers that can help with having a clear governance. The third one is to fund the interface. Basically, whether it is done through scholarships, internships, or part-time placements, we need to create roles that live between academia and industry, that can be that liaison that can translate one language to the other. And number 4 will be to begin with low-risk pilots, quick wins collaborations, like student consulting projects, that will help to build trust and often lead to deeper partnerships. Trying to, if you're gonna try to do this for the first time and you try to do like get a bigger scope, usually it tends to be difficult to manage. So it is very important to start with low risk pilot. And another point that I don't have it on the presentation, but it's basically let's celebrate success stories. Okay, share the outcomes widely. Share case studies, publications, media coverage. Basically, when you talk about success, it breeds visibility, and visibility breeds momentum. So more companies will come to universities and because they already know that it works, that things can be done and the results will be obtained. So partnerships thrive not just when they're strategic, but when they're simple, they're human, and mutually beneficial. So I hope these practical recommendations can be applied and that you can use them. Okay, so we can have a better understanding of how the university, the academia sector can help with the development of small enterprises and micro enterprises, of course. Thank you once again for the opportunity to share these insights. I firmly believe that innovation ecosystem will only flourish when we unlock the full potential of both SMEs and universities. And that unlocking is done together. I look forward to your question and hearing from fellow panelists on the experience and strategies. If you like to connect further, I'm happy to share my contact. It's right there. I will be sharing them also in the chat. So we can continue this dialogue beyond today's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Eddie George, for your generous commitment in joining us as early as 5 a.m. Paraguay time. Your dedication and insights are commendable. Thank you for shedding light on the intersection of the sustainability and innovation, for highlighting the role of SME as a strategic partner within triple helix model, identifying common interests, successful models of collaboration, and overcoming barriers. One thing that you mentioned about the language barriers between the academic and the business community. They have a leadership at ComSet Secretariat who is already aware of this challenge, and he always directs us to make a glossary of post every event, to have understanding between the academic and the policy experts. So thank you once again. Now it is an honor to invite Professor Dr. Ufuk Turan from Ostim Technical University, Turkey, who will speak on University SMEs Community Corporation. As someone who has a close engagement with Turkey SMEs-driven industrial ecosystem, Dr. Ufuk will offer a valuable system thinking perspective. Over to you, Professor Ufuk.
Hello, everyone. Is my slide okay? Good morning, everyone. It is a real honor to be among the fellow researchers, entrepreneurs, and policymakers here. Today, I want to explore a fundamental question. The question is, why do so many well-intentioned, well-funded collaborations between universities and SMEs fail to produce sustainable innovation? When we look closely, we see that despite enthusiasm, many of these partnerships stall. Often the ambition is there, but the outcomes do not follow. The question is, are we solving the wrong problem, or are we using the wrong tools to solve it? Over the next 20 minutes, I would like to invite you to examine this challenge from a different angle through the lens of systems thinking. We'll go beyond blaming individual actors or projects and instead consider how the structure of the system itself drives repeated failure and how we can design it differently. Despite the presence of generous funding schemas, innovation vouchers, and the government-backed R&D programs, university SME collaborations continue to underperform on a global scale. At the first glance, the policy landscape appears promising, but public institutions have mobilized considerable resources to encourage these partnerships. Yet when we look more closely, a different picture emerges. Studies by the OECD, as well as National Innovation Agency evaluations across Europe, Asia, and beyond, reveal a striking pattern: limited success in commercialization, shallow and short-lived engagement, and partnerships that often fail to evolve beyond pilot phases. These findings are not isolated. They reflect a systematic trend, one that calls for deeper analysis rather than surface-level fixes. Take the experience of many SMEs. They often engage in an initial collaboration with the university, sometimes enthusiastically, but then fail to return. Why? Mostly because the outcomes may not meet their operational needs, or because the collaboration feels too academic, too slow, or misaligned with business cycles. From the university side, faculty may find these industry collaborations undervalued in terms of academic promotion, publications, or recognition. Without institutional incentives or career structures that reward engagement with the private sector, faculty naturally deprioritize these efforts. This persistent pattern of underperformance in university SME collaborations has deep historical roots. To understand why we are here today, we need to revisit the innovation paradigms that have shaped policy, funding, and institutional structures for decades. Since the mid-20th century, the dominant model guiding innovation has been what we call the linear model, first articulated by Vannevar Bush in 1945, this model was born out of a wartime research success and post-war optimism. It proposes a neat and sequential process. Basic research leads to applied research, which informs development, which eventually result in commercial products and services. In this view, universities generate fundamental knowledge, industry picks it up downstream and brings it to the market. While elegant in its simplicity, the linear model has proven to be an inadequate reflection of how innovation truly happens. In the real world, innovation is rarely linear. It is messy, recursive, and highly interactive. Industry does not just wait passively for research findings, it often shapes the research agenda itself. Users, whether consumers, communities, or practitioners, play a powerful role in shaping design and functionality. Policymakers and regulatory bodies influence what is feasible, what is permissible, and ultimately what is viable in the market. In reality, the knowledge creation and knowledge application are deeply intertwined. Innovation is a system of loops, feedback, and adaptations, not a pipeline. Over the few decades, more dynamic and realistic models have emerged. One of the most influential is the triple helix model, which sees innovation as a collaborative process involving universities, industry, and government as equal partners. Another is Mode 2 knowledge production, which emphasizes problem solving in context, interdisciplinary, and stakeholder engagement. These models reject the idea of university as an ivory tower, producing abstract knowledge disconnected from its social or economic application. They promote co-creation, mutual relevance, and reflexivity, where researchers are embedded in real-world problems and continuously adapt based on context and feedback. Yet, despite these newer models gaining theoretical ground, many of our institutions remain organized and, more importantly, funded according to the logic of the old linear model. Research grants are often awarded based on theoretical novelty rather than applicability. Evaluation systems reward publications over partnership. Universities are still structurally inclined towards outputs that do not necessarily align with the needs of the SMEs or communities. This structural inertia hinders progress and innovation. If we are to truly embrace collaborative innovation, we must go beyond rhetoric and begin redesigning systems, incentives, and institutional cultures to reflect the realities of today's knowledge economy. To better understand the ongoing challenges in university SME collaboration, it is helpful to adopt a systemic perspective. Many of the difficulties we observe are not isolated or accidental. They tend to arise from structural misalignments that have been present from the outset. Let's consider three recurring systemic barriers that often shape these partnerships. First, there are misaligned incentives. In academia, success is typically measured through peer-reviewed publications, grants, and theoretical contributions. These are essential for advancing knowledge in academic careers, but they may not always support applied collaborative work with SMEs. For instance, when a researcher invests time in addressing a local SME's technical problem, the impact may be real, but not always visible within traditional academic metrics. This can make it difficult for faculty to prioritize such work, even when they see its value. Second, many SMEs face capacity constraints. Operating under tight budgets and quick timelines, small and medium enterprises often lack the resources, personnel, or experience needed to engage in sustained collaboration with universities. Their immediate focus is often on practical outcomes and survival in competitive markets, which may leave little room for exploratory or long-term research partnerships. Even promising opportunities can seem risky when short-term clarity is lacking. Third, cultural differences can pose challenges. Universities and SMEs operate in different schedules and value systems. Academic work is typically guided by rigor, depth, and long-term perspective, whereas business tend to prioritize speed, relevance, and customer impact. These different expectations can lead to misunderstandings. What feels like a thoughtful and thorough approach to a researcher may seem overly complex or slow to a business partner trying to meet near-term goals. Importantly, these challenges are not due to individual shortcomings or isolated missteps. They reflect broader patterns, outcome of systems shaped by distinct logics and institutional goals. Recognizing this isn't about assigning fault. Rather, it points to the need for more thoughtful integration strategies. If we hope to foster more durable and effective university SME partnerships, the focus should shift from patching over mismatches to rethinking how we design and support collaboration from the ground up. To rethink university SME collaboration, we need a different lens, one that goes beyond symptoms and individual actions. That lens is systems thinking. Formalized by Ludwig von Bartholomew in the mid-20th century, systems thinking has shaped fields from ecology to public policy. Its core idea is that behavior in complex systems emerges not from isolated parts, but from the structure of their relationships. Instead of asking who is to blame, systems thinking asks what system produced this outcome. It focuses on patterns, interdependencies, feedback loops, and delays, forces that silently shape results over time. Applied to university SME collaboration, systems thinking reframes our understanding. It asks such questions. Why are academic and business incentives misaligned? Why do communication failures persist across projects? Why is trust so difficult to establish and sustain? These are not random failures. They are signals from a system behavior as designed. For instance, when universities reward publication but not industry engagement, even well-intentioned researchers face structural disincentives. Similarly, when SMEs lack capacity for long-term collaboration, projects remain shallow, not because of bad actors, but because of systemic mismatch. But system thinking does not stop at diagnosis. It helps identify leverage points, small, well-placed changes that can shift the entire system. Examples include revising academic promotion criteria to value SME collaboration, embedding students in firms to act as knowledge bridges, co-founding interdisciplinary research centers, developing shared evaluations tools to align expectations. Of course, these are not silver bullets, but when strategically aligned with the system dynamics, they can cultivate trust, continuity, and real innovation. In short, systems thinking can help us stop blaming symptoms and start building smarter systems. Let us now move from metaphor to models that offer practical ways to rethink collaboration between universities and small and medium-sized enterprises. One influential perspective is the Mode 2 knowledge production model introduced by Gibbons and his colleagues in 1994. Unlike the traditional Mode 1 approach, which is based on academic disciplines and internal validation within the university, Mode 2 knowledge is created in applied contexts. It is transdisciplinary, includes diverse stakeholders, and responds to real-world feedback. This framework encourages us to see universities as partners in addressing societal and industrial challenges rather than as isolated centers of theory. Lundvall's concept of national innovation systems provides another valuable lens. It proposes that innovation depends on not only on technical capacity, but also on social and institutional learning. The model emphasizes that what matters most is not the strength of individual actors such as firms, universities, or government bodies, but the quality of the connections among them. Trust, communication, and shared expectations are central in this process. These models question the traditional idea of one-way knowledge transfer. They promote the idea of co-creation where knowledge, problems, and solutions are developed together. In this view, universities serve as active participants within a broader innovation environment shaped by continuous exchange and mutual learning. This change in perspective invites a rethinking of how collaboration is supported. Rather than relying on short-term programs alone, it becomes important to align incentives, nurture cultures of engagement, and revise how success is measured to support more adaptive and meaningful innovation partnerships. If this systemic shift is to succeed, universities will need to adapt and evolve. In 2009, Wisama describes the third generation university as one that expands its mission beyond teaching and research to include entrepreneurship and societal engagement. In this model, collaboration with startups, spin-outs, and small and medium-sized enterprises is no longer seen as an add-on. The universities actively invest in support structures such as technology, transfer offices, innovation hubs, embedded doctoral programs, and legal arrangements that make shared ownership of intellectual property more practical and transparent. Faculty members take on multiple roles. In addition to being educators and researchers, they also act as innovators, advisors, and connectors across different sectors. Third-generation universities are closely integrated with their local and regional contexts. They do not simply aim to remain relevant. Instead, they contribute actively to economic and social developments by acting as institutions that bridge academic expertise and practical business needs. Their role is to foster collaboration and mutual understanding between different communities of knowledge and practice. Here's where system thinking becomes visible and practical. In the form of a causal loop diagram. This diagram does not just illustrate concepts, it helps us see the deeper feedback structures that shape behavior over time. We've mapped three key reinforcing and two balancing feedback loops. These are self-reinforcing cycles where success feeds further success and provide the system is properly aligned. Let's start with R1, the reinforcing loop 1. When institutional incentives prioritize publication, we get more academic output. More publication enhances university rankings, boosting reputation. A stronger reputation attracts better students and improves teaching quality, which leads to stronger alumni employability. This in turn boosts the university's community impact, which loops back and reinforces its public image and reputation. and the reputation once again supports the academic success and close the loop. This loop shows that reputation, often seen as intangible, is structurally reinforced by incentive systems. Now, consider B2, a loop focused on industry collaboration. When we create incentives for SME cooperation, more academics engage with industry. This builds knowledge absorption capacity on both sides, enabling longer-term, more meaningful relationships. Over time, these relationships lead to successful commercialization, whether in the form of new products, services, or startups. This generates industry-derived income, which can then be reinvested into further collaboration, again, closing the loop. This loop, often underutilized, without deliberate design, it stalls early at the engagement phase because incentives, structures, or support systems are misaligned. Finally, we have D3, the ecosystem experience loop. The more experienced stakeholders gain within the ecosystem, academics, SMEs, government actors, the more projects they initiate. With each project, trust and familiarity grow, reducing transaction costs and making collaboration easier. This trust reinforces the entire system's capacity for adaptive, sustained innovation and closing the loop. But here's the critical insight. None of these loops activate automatically. They depend on how we design our institutional incentives, our policy frameworks, and our organizational support structures. If we reward only academic outputs, the R1 dominates and the collaboration stagnates. But if we constantly support D2 and D3, we begin to see a different system emerge, one that aligns academic excellence with societal and economic value. In short, causal loops like this do not just describe reality, they give us leverage to redesign it. It is important to be mindful of the balancing forces here. They are shown as red arrows. When academic publication is given too much emphasis, it can overshadow collaboration, lower intrinsic motivation, and shift focus away from experiential and project-based learning. In a similar way, efforts to generate income without proper support may lead to partnerships that are limited in depth and focus only on short-term transactions. The key leverage point in this system is the accumulation of knowledge. This element is shaped by both academic research and practical collaboration. The critical question becomes how we choose to use it. Do we keep it as a symbol of institutional prestige, or do we activate it in service of shared knowledge, learning, and broader transformation? Well-crafted policy interventions can help guide these dynamics. Examples include revising how faculty performance is evaluated, encouraging joint publications with industry partners, placing students within small and medium enterprises as a part of their learning experience, and recognizing forms of success that are built in relationships and long-term impact rather than just measurable outputs. At Austin Technical University, we have embraced many of these principles discussed today. Our education model is centered on cooperative education, project-based learning, and continuous collaboration with industry throughout all 4 years of undergraduate studies. Students engage in workplace education from the very beginning, gaining direct experience through placements and long-term mentoring within our extensive network of partner SMEs. Every undergraduate program includes mandatory internships, real-life capstone projects, and consistent engagement with professionals in the field. Entrepreneurship plays a central role in our ecosystem. We monitor innovation through a structured entrepreneurship scorecard and actively support student-driven ventures. Events such as pitching days and smart idea competitions offer platforms for students to refine and present their innovations. Many have gone on to establish their own companies while still enrolled. Our faculty serve not only as researchers, but also as facilitators of innovation and knowledge exchange. We encourage co-publication with industry partners, support student-led initiatives, and promote mobility across academic and industrial domains. Our approach is problem-focused, guided by real industry needs, and supported by high-quality research outputs and international funded projects. Located within one of Turkey's largest industrial zone, Ostimtech benefits from a unique setting that enables real-time collaboration and knowledge transfer between academia and the private sector. In this way, we contribute to a broader transformation in higher education, preparing our students not only to adapt the world, but to shape it through meaningful engagement and applied learning. Let me close with a vision. Innovation does not thrive in isolation. It grows through relationships built on trust, shared goals, and continuous learning. To support this, we need systems to evolve, adapt, and reward genuine collaboration. This means shifting from project-focused thinking to ecosystem-based approaches. From measuring only output to recognizing trust, connection, and long-term impact. Hybrid incentive structures can help align academic excellence with societal needs, turning SMEs into active partners in knowledge creation. Collaboration is not just a task. It is a shared capability and a sign of healthy systems. Thank you for your patience. Pending for your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Ufuk, for offering systems thinking perspective, the structural barriers that often impede effective SMEs university collaboration. Your comprehensive analysis highlighted critical dimensions that are frequently overlooked by the SMEs as well as academic and research institutions and not readily available within our existing knowledge base. Thank you for also highlighting the Austin Technique University education model, which effectively integrate SMEs into the academic and innovation model. Next, it's now my privilege to invite Executive Director of South Center, Dr. Carlos Correa, to deliver his talk. A globally respected scholar and policy advocate, Dr. Correa brings decades of experience in international economic law, IP governance, and innovation policy. We are also deeply grateful for the South Center for continued engagement and contributions to ComSES initiatives. Over to you, Dr. Correa.
Well, thank you very much. Let me see whether I can share the screen. Can you see it? Can
yes,
you see PowerPoint?
See it.
Okay. So let me put this now with. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yes, it's perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this interesting webinar. I will address the following issues. Some of them have already been addressed in an excellent manner by previous speakers. So I'll try not to repeat, but rely on some of the very valuable comments that have been made. So the first issue I'd like to address is the research and development agenda for universities. And the question has already been addressed whether it does respond or not to the need of small and medium enterprises. Then I will make reference to informal modalities of collaboration. There have been already comments made on this, but I will just emphasize some of the points. then make a comment on contractor relationships and some of the obstacles or problems that may be faced when entering into these more formal type of collaborations. And then lastly, we refer to managing intellectual property in the context of SMEs and universities collaboration. Let me start by showing this infograph. This is coming from a very recent report produced by the National Center for Universities and Business in the United Kingdom. And here it is indicated the benefits that university and SMEs collaboration may bring, not only to the partners, but also to societies. And then as you can see here, one benefit will be an increase in innovation. I will not go into details, but you may have this PowerPoint be shared. So one of course is increased innovation. Innovation takes place. The main locus for innovation are the companies, not necessarily the university. So this collaboration may actually increase innovation in the actual locus for that, which is the companies themselves. It may attract investment because there will be a need to put investment in order to implement innovations. It may improve quality of life. At the introductory remarks, it was reference made to the SDGs, and certainly more innovation, and which is addressing the local needs of society, will also contribute to achieving the SDGs. Social entrepreneurship may be one of the outcomes of this collaboration. Enhanced competitiveness, of course, is very important, in particular now that many countries have open economies, and then all companies need to compete with imports, in some cases at a low cost, and therefore enhancing competitiveness is crucial for the SMEs to survive and to grow. Tackle global challenges. As we know, climate change, for instance, food security are major challenges for many of the countries which are, I'm sure, participating in this webinar. And therefore, this collaboration may actually help to address those challenges, also improve local leadership, and importantly, create jobs. In all our economies in developing countries, that's a major objective, to create jobs. And as we know, small and medium enterprises do create in many countries a great majority of the available jobs. So these are some of the benefits that this collaboration may bring about. But now this slide makes a very brief comparison regarding the advantages and the disadvantages of small companies, small and medium companies, as compared to those of big companies. And then this also helps to put a context to this collaboration with universities. So regarding the first one, I think there is something that the title is hidden to some extent, but the first one relates to resource and infrastructure. Of course, big companies are better prepared in terms of human resources, technical skills, and infrastructure as compared to SMEs, which are disadvantaged in that respect. However, in connection with the second element, which is agility, small and medium enterprises may be more agile. They may respond more rapidly to changing demands, changing needs. They don't need to go through bureaucratic or long processes in order to start a project, for instance, or to implement an innovation. And therefore, this is a clear advantage of SMEs as compared to bigger companies. Regarding priorities in the area of innovation, they differ quite significantly, as indicated in this slide. For big companies, often they have long-term projects for innovation. Their strategies may aim at introducing new products, new processes that may require significant time to develop new techniques. In the case of small and medium enterprises, the focus is more on short term. And this makes also a major difference when we think about collaboration between small and medium enterprises and universities, and big enterprises and universities. So the context would be different. As it was mentioned before, the objectives of the partners would be different. But also, if we look at small medium enterprises on the one hand and bigger companies on the other. Then in terms of risk tolerance, there are also differences. Small and medium enterprises are not very much tolerance regarding risk because they haven't got the capacity, the financial muscle to involve in too much risk, and therefore innovations which may be of interest for small and medium enterprises are those that may not bring to a very significant risk that, on the contrary, big companies may assume. And then regarding networks, big companies may belong to a number of networks that are not, this is not the case for small and medium enterprises, but then precisely collaboration with universities may help small and medium enterprises to belong some networks that may bring significant value. So just to mention that when we talk about university enterprise relationship, but there is a lot of literature on this, a lot of literature in many countries, including developing countries. We need to make a distinction, taking into account the size and different objectives, structures of the companies that may be involved. So I think it has been many of the presentations have addressed the realities in which developing countries work and in which these relationships should take place. And I think this is very important to look at the starting point. So I don't know how many countries are represented in this webinar and dialogue, but I just took one example, the case of Pakistan, which is the host of ComSat, as we know. And then this may represent the situation in other countries, or it may be different, of course. We have had a very nice presentation about Iran, science and technology policy. Maybe there may be significant differences among the countries which are participating, but in many developing countries, the reality is that research and development spending is not a very high percentage of the GDP. And this, as you know, is one of the usual measures about the strength of a particular country in science and technology. In the case of Pakistan, for instance, is in accordance to this report, is just 0.16% of GDP. It is below the average. Of course, in some countries such as South Korea, China today, United States have very, very high average. In many developing countries, it's below 1%. But in any case, another important element when we look at statistics about research and development in many developing countries is that research and development expenditure that is actually made or related with industry is very low, as is the case, by the way, Pakistan. This, however, has not prevented Pakistan to get, as it was mentioned in the introductory remarks, one of the scientists that got the Nobel Prize, Abdul Salam, whose work I followed a lot when I was professor at the University on Science and Technology, director of a master program, and we use a lot the text by Abdul Salam. Not only a great scientist, a great physicist, but also a great leader for developing countries regarding science and technology. So this low investment, importantly, will not prevent to have these successes in getting such distinguished scientists. But there was also mentioned by Professor Turen. He did mention, I appreciated that very much, the linear model. Yeah, good presentation about the linear model. I also agree is not the right model to be applied, but is more interactive model has been further developed. But then this is one of the problems that many developing countries face, because if we look at statistics on research and development, in many developing countries, basic science predominates because it's public funded. Research and development is done in universities. And then there is a dominance of basic science, eventually applied science, but the proportion of experimental development, which is closer to industry, to implementation, is low. And this compares with developed countries in which investment in experimental development is in many cases, in all cases, I would say, much higher than investment in basic science or applied science. So the profile of research and development in developing countries is very important when we look at the real prospects, potential of this collaboration between industry in general, in particular small and medium enterprises and universities. We need to know that universities, as was already mentioned, that actually focus in basic science, applied science, and in developing countries in particular, not too much in experimental development. So coming back again to the case of Pakistan, just to present one example. This is taken from Digital Pakistan. And then here it is noted that there is a negligible contribution from private industry in terms of research and development. And then there is an observation about the limited formal knowledge transfer mechanism, and also the fact that there is like an operation in silos. There is a small public research and development effort which is not linked to industry. And then there is a limited investment in research and development in industry. So this means that this ecosystem that was mentioned before does not exist, and therefore policies and actions are needed in order to put that ecosystem in place. So this is just to have a starting point. Improving the relationship between universities and industry, in particular small and medium enterprises, is a major policy challenge. So there have been many good recommendations already made during this webinar, but this actually requires action, deliberate actions. It does require to develop policies. Otherwise, it may not happen just naturally. So regarding the research and development agenda, one of the topics I mentioned I would like to address, as it was already, as I already suggested in the previous talks, it was mentioned as well. The thematic choices made by universities do not necessarily respond to the potential demands of industry, including small and medium enterprises. The thematic choices are made on the basis of scientific trends. In many cases, where the funding is will determine what kind of subjects are actually addressed. For instance, when there is international funding for some projects, this may lead universities to focus on areas in which this international funding exists. And this is a major problem because this may deviate the research and development agenda of universities from issues which are more relevant or particularly relevant for the country or for the region. So this is a general issue, and there is some literature on this, the extent to which difficulties or constraints regarding funding for local research and development may lead to a research and development agenda which is not the agenda that is the best suited to the needs of developing countries. There are policies in some countries that will try to direct in terms of thematic choices. In some countries, however, scientists consider that they have the freedom to investigate whatever subject they wish or they consider to be the most appropriate. So there are some questions also in some countries regarding the freedom to choose the theme of research. But then if you actually wish to address the demands of industry, you need to have a policy in order to direct a part of the research and development agenda to those needs. Otherwise, this will not, I repeat this will not happen automatically. Then it was already mentioned by Professor Ulrich Thuren, the problem that researchers, professors, university face, the method of evaluation, the criteria for evaluation, in particular based on publications. The dogma publish or perish does apply. So for researchers, professors, in many cases, they need to prove they have been able to publish in peer-reviewed journals in order to get renewal or to get a position in university. And this actually does not lead to be conscious or be close to the needs of industry, because industry may not need such kind of outputs that may those that can be published by professors or researchers. So the criteria for evaluation of professional research university play a major role. In some countries, there have been changes in that respect. For instance, those researchers and professors that actually work with industries, they may have a positive evaluation, even if they have not been able to produce a paper, because in many cases you cannot do both. But then this influences very much the model under which universities produce knowledge. And this leads then to some kind of information outputs that may not be those that the university may transfer to the industry. And then a further point is how the needs and demands from small and medium enterprises are actually identified. So is there a system in order to identify those needs and demands? The extent to which universities actually know those needs and how it is done. It is done on an individual basis by professors, researchers that have curiosity, or have family members or friends that are working in industry, the small and medium enterprises. How is this knowledge actually getting the universities in order to be able to develop a research agenda that responds to those needs? So these are questions that need to be addressed in order to actually improve this collaboration. Then I think this has been pointed out. I will just highlight the importance of what we call informal collaboration. So in many cases, universities look for the number of contracts that have been signed between the university and companies or industry partners. So many universities, they are actually pushing, and they have some departments pushing for this kind of very formal collaboration. But as other speakers have already mentioned, I will emphasize the important role of informal interactions between university teams and companies. This may be in visits that industry people may do to labs in the university, or the other way, contacts that university researchers may have with industries, visit to know what they are doing and what kind of demands they may have. This does not often happen without a policy to do that. But this informal interaction may be extremely valuable, because for many small and medium enterprises, their objective is not just to enter in a complicated contract, go through the approval process. The university may be subject to a number of rules. So what they actually need, as I mentioned before, is to be given very fast, agile solutions to the problems they may face. This may be based on services, for instance, laboratory controls or quality standards. This may be also the case through participation in training workshops organized by universities. I know, for instance, one case in which a member of a company did participate in a seminar. It was a company working there of chemistry, and this person learned in this seminar that there was a possibility to develop one particular product. And then he went back, he started the project, and this became a major success for the company, which was able not only to produce for the local market, but also to become an exporter of this product. So there are cases, of course, we haven't got statistics in which the participation of companies, people in activities organized by the universities may have very significant outcomes without entering into formal type of agreement. So I would really want to emphasize this and the need to encourage these kind of informal interactions. Then there may be more formal contractual relationship between university and small and medium enterprises. This may be an option, of course. This it was already mentioned by Livia and others. For instance, there may be fellowships, internships of researchers or young students or doctoral students in companies. And you may also bring people from companies to the university to participate in some research activities. There may be training, which is organized for SMEs. So this may lead to some contractor relationship, because you need to establish a contract under which there will be some rules that will govern how this person will be subject to the institutional rules of whether it is in the company or whether it is university. So you need then to enter into some formal agreements because there are responsibilities. There is a need to comply with certain moral, ethical rules, and so on and so forth. So this will need to develop some templates, simple templates, in order to facilitate this kind of interaction to take place under legal terms that will be acceptable for both parties, but will address the main issues that may emerge in this kind of relationship. And there may be a number of legal issues that may arise out. A second area in which contractor relationship may be needed is when there is a supply of services. This may be based on occasional basis. This may be done on a permanent basis. For instance, when the laboratory is providing services for quality control, improvement, packaging improvement, whatever, to a company. This may require some contractual relationship, including how you determine the remuneration for the services, what is the responsibility in case that a mistake is made or negligence takes place. Again, for this, it will be important to have very simple but concrete and comprehensive templates that will facilitate these kind of interactions. And then we move to a more sophisticated kind of contract in which the subject of which will be research and development, doing research or development for a particular company. So in this case, the contract become a bit more complex. There are many issues that need to be addressed, and I will refer to this going to the next slide. Of course, the first issue is to define in a very precise manner what is the object of the contract, what is to be done, and by whom. In many cases, it was indicated already, innovation does take place in the context of collaboration. It's not done just by one of the partners, and therefore it is often very important to define very well how the subject matter of the contract will be implemented, what kind of contributions will be made by each party, who is going to participate, and how this will be organized. So defining the object takes some time and requires a good understanding of how the project will be implemented. Secondly, and this is often a major difficulty for universities, you need to determine which will be the cost on the side of university for entering into this kind of arrangement. So how are you going to calculate the time or the cost of those who will be involved, the resources that will be used in terms of materials, whatever. So this is challenging, in particular for those departments, universities, which do not have experience in engaging in these kind of contracts. How you determine how much the university is going to put into this arrangement. And then this leads to the next issue, which is also often very difficult for many universities without experience, and this is how you determine the remuneration. The remuneration should cover at least the cost. In some cases, universities may also aim at getting a plus over the cost, or not just recovering the cost. It will depend on the policy. But in some cases, it's also a complicated matter. How are you going to charge? Will this be a lump sum? Will this be royalties? Royalties, how much? Is 3%, 5%, whatever, which will be the basis for calculation of royalties. So you need to develop this kind of clauses in a contract, taking into account, of course, the interests of both university and the partner, the commercial partner, the small and medium enterprise in this case. But my experience has shown that in many cases it is not very easy. When a contract is sent, for instance, is already agreed upon between a particular department of the university and a company, this has to be approved by the highest body in the university. And then they will require explanation. Why is it 3% or 5%? What's the basis for this remuneration? And the extent to which the cost will be recovered or not. So this is often a complicated matter. Another issue relates to responsibilities in case that, we all expect that project will be successful, but this may not be the case. There may be cases in which there are no success, or what responsibilities will be there. There may be another situation in which a product, for instance, is finally developed, and then with the products put into the market, there may be some negative consequences in terms of health or environment or whatever, that they may lead to some responsibilities on the company and eventually the partner, the university. So how all these issues will be dealt with is also important. So will the university just leave all responsibilities on the company if something goes in the wrong manner when the product process is put in practice, or will also assume some liabilities in case this is the case? So this is a very critical issue as well that you need to consider, because otherwise you will face problems if a situation like this will arise. Another important issue is confidentiality. In some companies may wish to start a project on the basis of knowledge that they consider to be secret. And secrecy, as you know, can give competitive advantage. And trade secret is one of the areas which is protected by intellectual property. But then the issue is that these companies would like to share these trade secrets with the partners university. But can a professor or research university comply with this kind of trade secrets? What kind of measures need to be taken? Is this allowed, in particular public universities, or will they be subject to disclose whatever they receive? So the confidentiality issues are complex. And also, this relates to confidentiality relating the outcomes of the research eventually. If something is done which is useful for the company, should be kept confidential, or is there an obligation by public university to make these outcomes public available? And in some research institutions, developing countries, I've seen the rule in accordance to which every research outcome needs to be made public because of the very nature of the research which is undertaken by this institute. So this is another issue that may be difficult if the company that pays for a particular research actually wants to keep secrecy in order to protect its competitive advantage as compared to other companies, at least for some time. Another complex issue often is ownership of outcomes. If collaboration is made in order to develop one product or one process, who will own the outcome? I will refer in a minute about intellectual property, but this is something that is critical. Will the outcome will be owned by the company? There will be joint property for that? So how this will be dealt with is also important, and there may be many complications, in particular if you aim at a joint property, which may be perhaps also the rules in universities. In many universities, there are already some rules which apply to these collaborations that will require the university to withhold some ownership on the outcomes of the research. Again, this may be a complex issue to negotiate. And then finally, what I refer by contractual procedures here is what kind of procedures need to be followed at a particular university in order to get approval of a contract. In some cases, I mentioned before, it's not enough signature by the department, because the department university has no legal capacity to represent the university as such, and therefore you need the signature of the vice dean or the dean or whatever, and therefore you need to go through certain procedures of approval. It may take time, as I mentioned before, because there may be doubts about how much is being charged, whether the research is relevant or not for the purpose of the university. So in my experience, it is also something that becomes quite complex. And then this is the last issue, managing intellectual property. As I mentioned before, one particular problem in many cases is confidentiality of both inputs and outputs. Whether, for instance, there is in many contracts you will have a clause in accordance to which it is possible to disclose the outcomes of a research, provided that there is consent by the other party. So in many cases, the solution is not just to keep secret what has been developed, but there may be some rules that make this possible, but subject to the consent of the other party. So there are many solutions that may be applied, but this is something that needs to be addressed in order to avoid problems. There may be cases in which an invention is the outcome of collaboration in research, an invention which is patentable. And of course, this will require that you get novelty, inventive step, industrial applicability, the requirements under the patent law. And then here again, several questions arise. The first one is who will be allowed to apply for the patent? University, the company, both of them. If you have a joint ownership of a patent, this may look nice at the beginning, but it may be complicated in implementing the use of the patent because you will need to get agreement in all cases in order to use the patent, eventually to license the patent to another partner or company. Therefore, it is a good solution, but I must alert that it may bring about some problem. Secondly, who is going to bear the cost for the patent? There are registration costs, but importantly, and sometimes this is ignored, there are also maintenance costs. A patent, in order to be maintained in most countries, there is a need to pay every year or every 2 years a maintenance fee. And therefore, there is a need to have an agreement who is going to bear the cost, because maybe there is agreement to pay for the registration fees, but then you also need to provide for these maintenance fees, because otherwise, if the maintenance fees are not paid, the patent will lapse. So what you have made, the investment you have made in getting the patent is completely lost if maintenance fees are not paid. The other thing is where the patent is to be applied. Will it be just in the country, let's say in Pakistan, Iran, or you are looking for foreign markets? Many inventors will think that the invention is so important as to merit to be patented not only in the country of origin where it has been developed, but in many other countries in order to secure the markets there. But then this certainly increases the cost significantly, because registering in foreign markets implies in some cases significant cost. You need to get a patent attorney. In some countries, you go, for instance, to Europe, the European Patent Office, you aim at the European market, the cost of registration is quite high, and also maintenance fees are significant. Therefore, you need to also make this very important assessment. If you apply for a patent, should it be only for the local market, or it should be also for other markets? And also consider if the patent is also applied for the local market, in the rest of the world, the invention remains in the public domain. Because the patent system, most intellectual property rights are like that, are territorial. So this means that if you get the patent in, let's say, Pakistan, Malaysia, or Iran, and you don't go for patenting abroad, then the invention will be publicly available in a legitimate manner. It will be in the public domain in other countries. Therefore, anyone can use it. So this is a difficult balance, an assessment that needs to be made, where the patent should be registered and what the cost will be, so on and so forth. And then finally, when you get the patent does not provide the right to use the invention. The patent only gives the right to prevent others from using. So it's a negative right. Therefore, a patent makes sense if you have also the resources to act against infringers. So this means if you are going to get a patent, but you have no resource at university or the company to fight, to litigate in case an infringer appears in your country, or if you have got a patent elsewhere in a foreign country, which is very costly, I must tell you, litigating, for instance, European countries in the area of patent is very costly. It may reach up to million euros. So you need also to make this evaluation whether you want or not to get a patent, and take into account that the patent also is useful when you are also prepared to prevent infringers from using it. So this kind of assessments will be important in order to develop a patent policy by university, also applied in cases of collaboration. In the area of copyright, of course, there may be some outcomes that may be protected by copyright. For instance, computer software is protected by copyright. In this relation, it's important to know that copyright, and there is a mistake I see here in the expression. The copyright does protect the expression of a work. It does not protect the idea or the function. Therefore, copyright allows to get a legal monopoly on how an idea has been expressed, but not on the ideas themselves. And sometimes this is not very well understood by researchers at universities. And they think that, for instance, by publishing an article in a journal, which is where there is indication copyright protected, they are protecting the ideas. But while publishing, they are just putting the ideas in the public domain. The only thing they're protecting is how these ideas have been presented, the text, the tables they have made, but not the ideas themselves. And therefore, this will also require some training for universities and eventually those from the companies regarding what is the scope of protection given by copyright. You may also have industrial designs, which applies to the aesthetic character of a product, or what are called utility models, which apply to the functional configuration. And then this may be another category of interest in the case of small and medium enterprise collaboration. For instance, utility models are very much used by small and medium enterprises, and because they protect the configuration, the form of a product that confers a certain function to the product. And this is very much an area in which small and medium enterprises are active. You can see statistics, for instance, in Spain, in Germany, in Brazil. Many small and medium enterprises are those who actually apply for and get this kind of protection. Then, just to conclude, the last point I'd like to make is that many presentations actually address these issues, so I will be very brief. There is room for policies. I will moreover say there is need for policies in order to promote this collaboration. In the first place, you need to look at the university's agenda again. How is it determined? The extent to which it may actually respond or not to the needs of local industry, in particular small and medium enterprises. This is a question you need to address. Also look at the evaluation methods for, as I mentioned, for the researchers and professors. Is it just based on publish or perish? Collaboration will not be promoted. And also, what kind of policy you have to increase awareness within the university about the needs of the industry, and how you increase awareness in the industry and small, medium enterprise about what the university can do for them. And these are silos, as I mentioned before, to a great extent, and there is very little interconnection. You want me to finish?
Excuse me, Dr. Kalis.
Yes.
So sorry for the interruption. Actually, we are having a heavy wind and thunderstorm right now in Islamabad, so there could be interruption if the light goes out. So we will continue, but if there is any such
Okay.
incident, okay. So all
Okay,
participants
okay,
requested to
okay.
log in
No,
again. Okay.
Okay, just
Thank you.
just 2 minutes, and then
Yes, you
one
can
point.
continue. I'm just announcing that if the light goes out, so don't worry, we will become
Okay.
again
All right.
online.
So the second point I'd like to make is that there is a need of technical assistance in many cases to be given to the companies in order to formulate the demands. They may have demands, they may have needs, but they may not know how to formulate them in order to get access to the knowledge which is available in the universities. Of course, there may be an exception for the so-called knowledge-based SMEs, which already may have all the assets in order to enter into those relations. For instance, companies dealing with computer programs or with information and computer technologies, so on and so forth. I'm not mentioning here incubators and tech parks because prior presentations have made a lot of observations, important observations. This, of course, this may be a very important means in order to promote university and small and medium enterprises. Many successful experiences are there. We may learn from these experiences, but I haven't got a point on this because I knew that this issue was already mentioned. Then legal assistance to celebrate contracts, to file for IP protection. This will be necessary. This can be provided generally by the university, but actually you need to provide a legal framework for these cooperation to be successful, not to bring surprises, or also to bring cases that will then deter the university, for instance, to be interested in entering into this relationship. So you need to avoid these bad cases or bad examples by preventing through legal means in a simple manner, or not a very complicated manner, but as putting the rules that will prevent any liabilities or cases that may then bring a situation in which the university say, well, we are not going to engage anymore on this because we have had a bad experience with one particular case. And then finally, just to encourage that the procedures for approval of contracts in the country universities should be simplified in such a manner that will allow the departments to act in an agile manner to respond to the needs. In many cases, this may take months. I've seen the experience in some universities. And then the small and medium enterprises, they need a fast response, not to just wait months in order to get approval for the contracts and to screening the different details in a contract. Well, thank you very much again for your invitation. And of course, I remain available for any question that may be submitted. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carlos. Thank you for highlighting the critical challenges, particularly Pakistan facing in fostering SME university collaboration, particularly in context of limited R&D investment relative to the GDP. So we are pleased to note that there is a strong participation from Pakistan in today's workshop, and we trust that your valuable insights are proving beneficial to our participants, not only from Pakistan, from other member countries of COMSES. We hope everyone stays safe and sound during this weather we are having in Islamabad. And pardon the voices, maybe you can hear the voices of the wind in the background. I would like to have a very quick question from Dr. Carlos. First, SMEs often lack the legal and technical capacity to navigate the IP frameworks, particularly in Pakistan and the countries from the global south. So how do you see the institutional support systems, for example, IP advisory offices or tech transfer offices that governments and universities can establish to close this gap?
Well, yes, many universities have established what are called tech transfer offices, as you mentioned. They should have the capacity to evaluate the projects in discussion with experts or researchers in the particular field. And they should have the capacity to provide the legal context. It is advised, for instance, to develop some templates that will facilitate the interaction with companies. But yeah, this support is needed. So there is also a lot of literature about the role of these tech transfer departments in many developing countries have been very successful in bringing money to the universities. It may not be the case necessarily in the Global South universities, but this is necessary because the companies may not have this expertise, and then you need to provide this. Also, in one of the previous presentations, the reference to trust was mentioned. There is a need also to develop the mutual trust between the teams, and often this is done on the basis of informal interaction. So in many cases, although we haven't got a linear model, but in many cases, you reach a situation in which a formal relationship is done after informal contact have taken place for some time. So after this interaction has been fruitful and trust has been developed, then you may have a situation in which a more formal kind of relationship is made.
We had to follow a Q&A session after the experts' views that have been expressed and presented here. I believe you can invite the questions from the audience. I'll just avail the opportunity of thanking before the lights go out or anything happens. I want to really express our profound gratitude to all the experts who have shared their expert views with us and enlightened us with their experience, their expert views, and the knowledge they have shared with us and the guidance that they have provided to the audience. I believe that among the audience, there must have been the industrial the representative from the industry as well, so that they are able to understand the dynamics of how their connections or connectivity or linkages with the universities or academia can actually galvanize the things they own in their own favor, and not just in the favor of the country and other stakeholders, but for themselves as well. And I'm sure that university representative, they must have learned a lot of lesson and guidance from these deliberations, and must have noted the ways and means how they can actually connect with the industrial sector. It requires both ways actually to, it takes two to tango. So, universities as well as the industry, they must talk to each other, especially I would say that in Pakistan and countries which are, the economies that are not high income economies. So they really need this kind of linkages. But at the same time, the government have their responsibilities as well to ensure that that linkage is not only the linkage established, but also they provide the kind of support that is needed. So once again, I want to thank the fantastically very disciplined and patient audience. They have heard all the experts' views very patiently and must have noted. And I was watching, seeing their comments. They were profusely admiring the expert views that have been shared here at this forum. Once again, I want to thank and congratulate the team ComSets and the organizers who have joined us in organizing this very useful session. And I believe that this should not be the last session, but it should be the beginning of the such sessions that keep on educating our people and those who could not participate, and those who want to participate again to understand and strengthen their knowledge about this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the remark you have. There's a question in the chat box for you. What was the actual contribution engagement of Iran private sector across the three waves of ecosystem evolution? I'm repeating it. What was the actual contribution engagement of Iran private sector across the three waves of the ecosystem evolution in terms of percentage?
Yes, I've just read the question. Yeah. So do you have my voice clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So talking about the three waves, I have to say we only, as the government, we only provide the infrastructures and the related laws related to the activities of the companies. As an example, here in Paris Technology Park, though the technology park is managed by government, I mean by us, but all the established companies here are the private sectors. And even they are the owners of their own land plots. Even they are not the tenants here. They are 100% the owner of their land plots. They themselves, they come here and invest. We only provide the infrastructures for them. So when I say that we have established a law for knowledge-based companies, it means there are some laws to in a way that they eliminate the barriers in the way of the development of the companies. So, as the other example, the incubators or the accelerators that have been arisen out of these three waves, all the startups that are both in incubators or accelerators, they are completely private sectors. Incubators support them in a facilitative way. I mean, they provide some facilities, not the investments. Accelerators, they are some private sectors that support private startups. So all the role players here in the ecosystem are the private sectors. We, as the government, we only try to eliminate those barriers by setting some appropriate laws and rules, and of course, some financial facilities for the companies and the startups to get developed. So if this was the answer, if I was clear enough in understanding the question that someone has asked me.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Livia, for staying with us. Thing is that the universities and innovation hubs, you have discussed how they can collaborate more effectively with SMEs and startup to create, co-create knowledge and accelerate the commercialization of innovation. But they, especially in context of member countries of COMSES, in some of the region, the entrepreneurial ecosystem is still nascent stage. How do you see whether the policy interventions would be effective there, or any other mechanism that you may suggest for the countries in the region where the entrepreneurial ecosystem is still at the nascent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will speak about what I know, which is the Italian ecosystem. You're absolutely correct. There are some regions that are extremely strong. Other regions aren't, still nascent, as you're saying. There's an issue in Italy, and I think also around the world, about private universities having a lot of funding, a lot of opportunities, but then going back to a whole ecosystem of private investors that are interested in one specific ecosystem. Policy can focus on the public involvement in the public universities. I can speak for myself as well. I went to a public university. I didn't have a tenth of the opportunity that the private university in Rome has, for example. So that is an issue that has to be addressed from a ministry level, in my opinion. The same program in Italy is completely opposite if it comes from a private university and if it comes from a public. And the south of Italy, for example, is a region that is less developed, speaking of the educational programs. So I do believe that it's a regional issue. It's a municipal issue. It has to come from the policy level, from the ground up, because there are a lot of resources, but they're very concentrated in the same spaces that keep on feeding each other instead of expanding. That, I think, is the main issue. It should come from policy at the local level, coming from the public universities, giving a push towards everything else. That is my view.
Thank you, Ms. Livia.
Okay, so if you let me add some words about this. I agree with Livia mostly, but if we expect the individuals, the common people, to expect something in the policy layer, so it can take too long. So there should be a central authority to distribute the related key individuals to those places with some motivations, incentives. So I know, for example, in Sicily, the Messina University, there are some departments, they are very high profile. So they are producing projects, they are earning a lot of money for themselves and the university, but some of them are just sleeping beauties. So this is a matter of people, okay? The correct people should be deployed in the correct place to change the setting, to change the paradigm. This is how it can happen. So in our case, the state-owned or the private universities are sharing almost the same environment, but the understanding of being a state-owned university, you are very safe. This safety has a meaning, okay? So without doing anything, you can sustain. So this understanding is the leverage point between private university and the state university. So the incentives are the leverage points here. If we can design good incentives, then we can change the world. So this is like a leverage. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Fook, for the valuable addition. Can you repeat the name of the university that you mentioned?
Can you repeat, please?
Can you repeat the name of the university that you mentioned just now?
In Sicily?
Yes, I heard that you mentioned a name of one university that has created some projects. And
Yes.
Messina. I believe it
University of Messina University in Sicily. In
Messina.
Yeah, I have some friends there, so I know
it's
what they're
the
doing.
city in Sicily, yes.
Yeah. So she mentioned about the southern part of the Italy and the somehow underdeveloped than the northern part. This is very prominent. But the reason I gave this example is this is a matter of people. If you can send correct people, a team to the correct place, you can move the world. And there is no reason to be let's say hopeless. Okay, it is possible. The correct plan, correct people, and correct funding. And another point, if you let me add, the initiative mostly cannot come from the SMEs because they have in their own inertia, most of them. So in our environment, we are regularly visiting those SMEs and inviting them to the university to see what we are doing there. And we are facilitating their connections to our students. In the first year, we are inviting the industry representatives inside the university to give some speeches, some conferences to our freshman students. Then in the second year, we are sending the students to workplaces. Okay, we have 1,200 workplaces in our pool. 1 day a week, students are working in the workplaces, and 4 days they are in the university. In the last semester, the 8th semester, they are all in their workplaces. And at the end of this, they should prepare their graduation thesis based on a problem which they observe in their workplace. And they should suggest a solution for it. And the supervisor from the faculty and another supervisor from the workplace. And this triangle study together to find a solution to that problem. So in this is a type of triple helix model, actually. And what we gain is, at the end, our students are not, okay? So at the end of the 8th year, most of the students, it is more than 90% now, are having their contracts with the workplaces. They are there for almost 3 years. So this model can be very, very influential in different parts of the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Fook. Very quick question to Mr. George from UNIDO. One participant has asked that how to break the silos mindset of the industry, not willing to accept the new ideas. Professor Fook, would you like to shed the light on these questions at how to break the silos mindset of the industry?
Yes, I can if you wish. Yeah. So it is not easy. It is something like breaking the wall. But repeatedly visits and socialization with them and bringing them into the university and the incentives. When they see they have some benefits from this cycle, then this is something having the impact of word of mouth. Okay. So, for example, there was a desert production company. It was like 3 years ago, and we had made some visits to them, and they want to export their products to North Africa. And we established an export department for this the entrepreneur from with our students from the region. Then they started to export their products to those countries. Then this success creates a word of mouth. than the others approached. So success stories are the critical leverage points here.
May I just add something what Professor Ufuk has shared to the question that has been asked, how to bring the private sector from silos and make them responsive to the market demands. I believe that this is a very appropriate response which Professor Ufuk has given, but there's a prerequisite to that, and that is that the availability of information, because every country has different set of industries. Every country has different set of the universities that actually impart education in a variety of fields. Knowing that what are the major sectors of production in a particular country, and knowing also that whether they are very much aligned with the education that is being imparted at the universities in that particular country. So this is very important. If we have that information available with us, then in that case, this modality of what Professor Ufuk has said, that they should be taken to the universities. There should be visits by these industrialists to see for themselves as to what is there for them in those universities, so that they could benefit and their interest could be evinced.
Okay, thank you. Can I add something? So most of the countries, this entrepreneur or SME inventory is not readily established. So if we talk about those countries, if we wait for a list of companies and their connections, etc., so we wait a lot. So it is better to go out of the university, okay? Go out of the university with teams of faculty and pay some visits to the people, the entrepreneurs. Then one by one, we can convince them to be a part of the system. Otherwise, if we wait for initiatives from the government or local government, or someone is doing this facilitation, there might be no facilitation too.
Yes, agreed. You're right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, sir, the Honorable Executive Director, with your permission, shall I conclude the session?
Please, go ahead.
Okay, so this concludes our workshop. We are really grateful to all the speakers for the guest, Professor
No,
Ufuk.
sorry, I wasn't able to share this slide with the chat. So is there any way to share it?
We will take the we will take the PDF copies of the slides or the PowerPoint presentations from all the speakers who are willing to
Okay.
share it. We
Okay.
will also upload the proceedings of the workshop on the ComSES official YouTube link as well. And we will share the post-event report as well, inshallah,
Thank you.
with the support from the team of the ComSES Center for Climate and Sustainability. So thank you, everyone. Yes.
If I can add something before you
Yes, sure.
pose this. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, participants. Thank you, worthy speakers, especially Professor Carlos, who's always there for us. Special thanks to Irani, worthy speaker from Pardis Technology Park, Dr. Raza. Thank you very much for being here with us. Our Livia from MSME and George from UNIDO. It was really wonderful having you all with us. And on behalf of my department, my Center for Climate Change and Sustainability of ComSES, I really would like to thank you once again. And I want to thank my team because of their hard work. We are here and we had this wonderful session, and we stay connected to you with different forums and events. And once again, everybody, thank you very much for being with us and for sharing the thought-provoking, your invaluable experience with us. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Emma.
Thank you so much. So stay safe and take care. and have a very good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.